So welcome back to African Spirituality. I know it's been a while. I haven't done videos in this particular series, but I wanted to talk to you about blessings. So blessings in African Spirituality is basically the easiest way to get protection, to get road openers, to have your path more open, and to just be able to have motivation, to be able to have that, to feel that energy supporting you and bringing you, helping you on your path, on your road. So for us, a lot of time when we're talking to ancestors, we're always asking the ancestor to open the road for us, to lead the way for us, so that we don't venture ourselves. The ancestor will always go first, so they can tell us what obstacles are going to lay on the road. They can even assist us sometime and lift some of those obstacles to make our way much easier, to help us find that path of least resistance. So we know that there are many paths that one can take to reach the same goal, and sometimes the ancestors will point you to specific paths that's going to be much easier. And I've mentioned this in other videos. There's been time and time again where I was pointed to several different paths that would be much easier for me, and I decided to take the long, brutal, hard route. And midway through that, or sometime along the way, realize how hard it was to just try to fight your way through things, and while you had information about things that will be much easier and that will help you get to the same goal. So it is important. Your ancestors, when you connect with your ancestors, they are there to help you. You are on their line, their bloodline, you are their children, and especially when you're furthering and when you have the same moral ethics, when you have the same kind of life purpose as they did, they are going to come full force to ensure that you are well protected, that you won't even have to worry about people interfering with that, and you will be well guided on your path. And this is really what my case is. And that's why I always say that it is important to connect with your ancestors. It is important to connect with your lineage, and it is important to have a conduct that reflect that knowledge of self, that reflect your connection with your ancestor. When you start connecting with your ancestors, there are certain behaviors that you're no longer going to be enticed to do. There are certain work ethics and ethics with interaction with other people that you're not going to indulge in it, especially when you receive some form of protection based on your purpose aligning with those of the ancestors that are there and protecting you. For my own part, this is why there are certain practices that I don't indulge in it unless I'm back to the world unless I'm back to the wall and I have to, which hasn't only happened once in my lifetime. But there are practices that I am not that do not align with my path, that I'm not going to do. It doesn't mean that I don't know them and I don't know how to do them if I need to. It just means that I have to stay in alignment with my own path and with my ancestors. And that means having a certain code of ethics, having a certain code of behavior. And I'm not saying that I had that code all the time. Believe me, I was young. I did my share of mistakes and exploration, and I've learned from those things, and I've learned that there is the easier way and there is the hard way, and if you want to do it on your own and if you want to do it your own way, you can still do it, but it's going to be much tougher and much harder. So I'm not saying that I've been like this all the time. It's like, for me, it has been a work in progress, and I'm still a work in progress. There's still areas where, I'm not fully, completely aligned, and where they are guiding me, and we're working on that. This is why I always say that personal transformation is a process, is not an event. Okay, and it comes out of you working on yourself on different areas, and you are a masterpiece, a piece in work. So you have to constantly work on yourself, constantly improve, because other things around you are going to be changing and moving and evolving. Therefore, you have to be moving, changing, and evolving as well. So yes, so when we're talking about blessings from the ancestors, it's really easier to see, and this is why I'm very clear. I want to be very clear about this. A lot of people go around and do a lot of working with deities and do that. That's not what I'm talking about. When you're working with your ancestor, it's going to be really clear that those are your ancestors. It's going to be very clear that those are working with you, not for you. You're not working for them, but they're working with you. Because to me, I've always said that working with your ancestor is working with your living great-grandparents. It's meaning they have this kind of like overshield over you. They have that wisdom and that knowledge to shield and protect you. And they are not interfering in your day-to-day life. That means my ancestors are not requiring me to have an altar for them. And they're not requiring me to do all kind of offerings and all that stuff. No. And this is also something else that I'm going to be doing, because I've received, I think my number one questions that I've gotten lately was, how do I make an altar? And I've mentioned before that, I do have an altar when I do specific things, but those are not my ancestors' altar. My ancestors are cool when I'm doing specific things as well, but I don't have an ancestor altar. I really follow my own tradition. I don't have pictures of my great-grandparents or my ancestors on a table somewhere where I send energy to. I'll make a whole different video about the ancient traditional way of honoring your ancestors. Okay, which does not require you to have anything. You don't have to have a bottle and all this different stuff. Like you, especially if you are melanated or you are an African descent, you have to separate certain things between what is popularized now. You have to inquire of where is it coming from, who started that, and why. Because as you start digging, you start I think learning or realizing that certain things were created, certain things were modified for specific reasons, and you really have to inquire as to those reasons apply to me or not. Because it may really change significantly your relationship with your ancestors, especially for those of you who said you can't connect with them, you don't feel them around, all of that, because sometimes all of these different tools or these different things that are being advertised or being promoted actually interfere with the simple, easiest way. I already did a video on dream work and how you can connect to your ancestors during your dreams. But I've always said, connecting with your ancestors, you are your own ancestors, so you share the same blood with them. That means you share the same information code. That means whatever information you're seeking out of yourself by doing DNA testing, by going around and all that, is actually within yourself. So you kind of have to, you have that option of using that route of introspection in order for you to find that information and to connect with them. And I know most people don't want to do that because it's a longer route, because it's a route that's going to get you to also face some of your own fears, some of the stuff that are in there that you refuse to deal with. And those stuff can also block your connection to your ancestors. So for me, I prone the route to knowledge of self and self-transformation. Therefore, that's always the path I'm going to be pointing people to. I don't provide paths to shortcuts and things like that, because yes, some people are able to use shortcut. I'm not going to pretend that it is not. There are always faster route for certain people. But it's for certain people. It's not going to be for everybody. Most people are not going to be able to get into that route. It's the same thing about the conversation we've had about karma, in saying that some people are able to deviate karma, if I can say that term, use that term, deviate or escape or slow down karma in a way. But that's not everybody. Some people are even able to live in a state where they don't even have to worry about karma for many reasons. But most people are going to be living under the laws of karma. And I think just to clear things up, because there are many definitions out there of karma and what it is and what it isn't. But karma is embedded in the universal laws. The laws of restitutions, the law of reciprocity, the law of cause and effect. All of that is karma. It truly is. Now you can put it and word it some different ways to make people less scared, because the word has gotten some of this kind of negative aspect, but it's also positive. Sometimes I'm kind of surprised of the polarity of people when they're saying, you know, if you manifest a beautiful mate, then it's just you're great at manifesting. You have this perfect partner. And it's like, however, when you manifest somebody who's being rude or who's obnoxious, who's really, you know, really not good, then, you know, he can be karma for your manifestation. Now it has to be something else. It has to be some, you know, some spell, some hexing or something like that. So, no, it's all about cause and effect and reciprocity and all the different things that are part of universal laws. So you are going to be every action that you're taking is going to have a consequence. No one is escaping that. If you want to qualify that as positive, as negative, as good, or bad, that's something else. But the consequence is there, and the consequence is coming. Whether you call it karma, whether you call it, you know, cause and effect, restitution, choose the terminology that pleases you most. Okay, karma or anything else sometimes is used. People get triggered when they hear that word. It's like karma doesn't exist. Fine, cause and consequence does exist. You know, throw a domino and you'll see there's an effect that comes from there, from that. Okay, so now the blessings. So ancestors' blessings is truly in addition to your life. It's just for you a reminder of that you're on the right path, doing the right things to keep going. And times again, I've had these reminders, which is really wonderful, and that's a great sign for you to know that your ancestors are there and are supporting you. And there's many ways that they can show you that. Your life is supposed to be on the path of least resistance. Least resistance, not in terms of what you do. Yes, you are going to require hard work. That's a given. But least resistance in terms of your mental. Least resistance in terms of you understanding what you have to do, understanding what your purpose is, what your purpose is at that moment, because your purpose can change. Once you complete something else, you're going to have something else to do. Sometimes you can be doing few things at the same time in order to reach that purpose, in order to reach that goal. So don't be fixated, but the path of least resistance is right here, right up here. It starts with your own personal deliverance from other people's thought and other people's projection, and then it goes into how you are perceiving your own purpose, the role that you have to play in order for something to occur, the dedication that you have to have. And when you have that vision, when you hold that vision and you see clearly what you have to do, sometimes it may be something that you don't even like. You know, the vision could be to stay in a marriage that's kind of shaky. Maybe a marriage that's not as exciting as it was in the beginning. But to stay there because they're showing you is that, you know, it's just a phase. And I'm not talking about abuse. I'm talking about people who say, you know, you have ups and downs. Sometimes you have more attraction. At times in the marriage, it comes and goes. So it's important to understand that. It may also be something that you have to do in terms of work. You know, you may have a vision and see clearly that the point is for you to stay there a little longer. Or the point is for you to get out of there. Or to start having an exit strategy to get out of there. So it is important for you to have that vision, that clear vision in the mental, and to see how that vision in the mental is just so easy to grasp, so easy to hold. Not because it's not complicated and it's not like intricate and there's not a lot of detail, but simply because it makes sense. It makes sense up here, it makes sense here, and for us women it also makes sense at the level of our womb. And it's always those three different elements for us that will help you confirm that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And then you will have external signs that will come on to show you that, to show you just that. But my relationship with ancestors has nothing to do with having an altar, maintaining this, having to do this, having offerings and all the different things. There are certain things that I know that my ancestors provide without me having to do a single thing. And one of them being protection. The name that I have, my own name, is a name of an ancestor. So I am back again. And just alone from that name, because of the individual that wore that name, because of what they've done, because of the energy that's embedded within that name, I already have some additional protection serving from that. And every time I walk in an alignment with that, it just fortifies that even greater. This is why also if you have a specific name and you are acting against that name, you're acting against what they've built before coming you. You're destroying the legacy. Then you're going to see a lot of friction. And no matter how much, ancestor money or whatever you may be doing, it's not going to work. You really have to do a work on your own self and align yourself with your purpose, align yourself with the reason that you are here, no matter what the name that you have. And that's why sometimes you have to research that name. And I'll say you have to research that name even if your name is not, from the continent or not from thing. You have black people all across the globe. Some black people have names who are in India, have Indian resonating names. In Australia, they have their own name. Even in North America, there's black people who have Native Americans native names. And so research the name that you do have. Sometimes research the place where you were born. All of those are energies that come into play. But, jumping from one spiritual system, mixing spiritual system can also bring you and prevent some of the blessing that you're supposed to be getting. Sometimes you may even accidentally, without knowing, giving your blessings away to someone else when you're having people do work for you or all kind of things. So you really have to be careful sometimes, and you have to pay attention. But by being in alignment, having a certain path, a certain way of life, and unfortunately, people will say, being in alignment with your ancestors, it all depends on who were your ancestors. Sometimes your ancestors may have done things that you may disagree with. And so that's time to either transmute the energy or to flow in that energy. And that's not given to everyone. That's why, alchemy is an art that takes a long time to grasp and perfect, but it's a wonderful, rewarding art when you're able to do that, because you won't have to worry about what's on TV. You won't have to worry about what people are talking about, Trump or this and that, because you understand whatever energy is coming to you, you'll transmute it. You understand that your emotions are there to just give you, it's like a thermostat of what's going on, the triggers that you may have, but no more, no less. It shouldn't be triggering you to act a certain way because it's 25 degrees. You can still be at home in your shorts, or no matter what's going on outside. So it is a great tool to have, and seek the benediction of your ancestors. And when I mean ancestors, and this is a great, wonderful question, that was the discussion I had with a friend a while ago about being adopted and having people who cared for you, who held you. And this is why sometimes I will say bloodline is one thing, family is a larger thing. You can be adopted into a family that is not blood related to you, and their ancestor become your ancestors. And you can verify this by connecting with them and seeing how they accepted you. Sometimes you even chose to get into that family to actually jump off from the strict bloodline that you had to get into that zone, to get into that particular family. So I wouldn't say that's a barrier. I will say it's all matter of connecting and connections, especially if you walk in their path. Sometimes they even invite you into their own family because they're seeing that you're much more in tune with or aligned with their purpose, the purpose of the clan, the purpose of the tribe. People move from one tribe to another, and that's nothing new. And that's why I said sometimes there are limitations to blood. There are limitations to blood. This is why you are able, once you are in the astral realm, when you make your transition, you are able to switch and go into a different body. You're able to go into different lines. And so that's something to take into consideration. So this blessing can come from people who are not necessarily blood related, but who are nevertheless your ancestors. And that's up to you to cultivate these relationships. A non-blood related relationships can also be as powerful of a blood related relationships. I think in my video on cutting cords and on the power of women, I've talked about how sometimes if your own mother is belligerent towards you, or negative, or is working against you, seeking the assistance of another woman, an older elder woman who actually wants to support you, is going to help you tremendously, even though she's not blood related. And isn't it wonderful that we do have these kind of remedies for everything? So that figure case where your blood relative are actually the one oppressing you, or the one not wanting to serve you, you always have a remedy to seek this assistance from those who want to give it to you. And there will be always people who will want to assist you, especially in the spirit realm. And so sometimes you don't limit yourself to the ancestors, your blood ancestors. Sometimes some of the most devoted ancestors that will be there to work with you or even work for you could be those ancestors that are not blood related. So it's I know it's a lot to dive into in terms of ancestral realm and what's going on and happening there, but it's just to expand your mind. This is why sometimes it has nothing to do with what the persons look like. It has to do of what their behavior is, what are they expressing, how are they expressing it, how are they treating other people, how are they treating you. What is their true self that you can not perceive just by the way they look. Okay, you really have to dive deeper. You really have to observe these people, to observe what's on there, and you really have to meditate about it. Find that truth beyond the visible. Go into the invisible and feel secure and feel comfortable there. Because you're there all the time while you're in your body. You are in that invisible space within your body. You are an invisible being in this body. So there's nothing to be uncomfortable about diving into yourself and meditating on exploring your own self and exploring the thoughts and the connection that you have with others who are here in the realm of the living and others who are in the realm of the invisible. So I hope this was useful, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.